All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome again to the Lubar Center at Marquette University Law School. I'm Mike Goucher, and this is On the Issues. This is our continuing series of conversations with news and policymakers, people we say are doing interesting, important work in this region and beyond. Today, we are joined by the Senior Vice President for the Milwaukee Bucks, Alex Lasry, and we're going to be talking about what's happening downtown. The arena project, the surrounding development. If you've been downtown, if you spent any time at all there, you have seen this incredible construction boom that's taking place. And there's a lot of talk about whether this can be transformational for our community. Can we connect people who live in this community to the jobs that are being created by this project? Alex Lasry has been very much involved in that effort to connect. And today we're going to be talking about that, the project in general, the future of our community. He's been here about 4 years now. We'll get some observations from a younger guy, although he's 30 now, he's not that young. But we'll get some observations from Alex about Milwaukee and its future and what we might expect down the road. So won't you please give Alex Lasry a warm welcome to Marquette Law School. Good to have you here, and let's get right into it and talk about the arena project and the surrounding development. At the end of the day, what do you think that will ultimately mean for the city of Milwaukee?
Well, I think for what we're looking at, you know, there's a ton of development that you're already seeing going on in Milwaukee. I mean, I think it's over $3 billion, which is great. But a lot of that is happening east of the river. And I think where you're seeing now with us and what we're able to now really create is development that's going to happen west of the river. And I think in one of the harder hit areas that's really going to now create a real ripple effect west of the river and on the west side and northwest side. I mean, what you're already seeing with our development is you're already kind of seeing that ripple effect happening. And so when we try to say that the arena and that the entire development is bigger than just the Bucks and it's bigger than just what we're creating, we meant it. You're starting to see it. I mean, Pabst is already starting to expand their operations with new, I think, a new hotel and apartment buildings. You're seeing that supermarket coming in on North Avenue. And I think a ton of other expansion projects that are already happening, kind of in that entire, what we, kind of could call New Westtown, in that entire area. And for us, we've got 30 acres, and we're putting in about $1 billion of development on that 30 acres. And, just to kind of finish up, what I think is most incredible about it is, 20, 30 years ago, you had a highway that was over there. That was, I think a real segregation point for the entire city. It was like a literal divider for Milwaukee. And now what I think we're able to do is put a true new living room for Milwaukee. It's going to be a place that's going to allow people to come together, to gather. When you look at games, especially Bucks games, it's the ultimate melting pot sport. And so I think what's really transformational about this entire project is also part of the symbolism of what's happened, which is originally you had a true divider and a true segregator of Milwaukee, and now we're putting in something where people are going to come and gather together for all races, ages, and people in Milwaukee, and I think outside of Milwaukee.
I will talk more about that in just a moment, but give us a progress report on where you are in construction. For example, let's begin with the arena itself. How far along are you? Is everything on schedule and on budget?
We are on time and on budget, which is true because you guys don't know what the actual budget is, so no matter what, we will be on budget. But we are also on time. We plan on being done we should be kind of punch listing hopefully by July. And hopefully opening it in early September. And that's kind of the goal that we're setting. We hope that the live block will also be significantly completed by that point as well. We finished the practice facility, and the medical office building will also be online shortly. The parking garage that we're building will be online in early November and will be open for parking. And then we've got, then we're going to have to decommission the Bradley Center. We'll find something to put there. And we've got 2 other blocks of land that we're seeing significant interest in already. So there's a lot going on over there. We're proud of the work that we're doing. Knock on wood, we've had no issues so far. We had our topping off ceremony earlier this summer, which was really great. And now we're pretty much almost enclosed, and we'll be fully enclosed by the end of the winter, by the beginning of the winter. And we'll be fully enclosed. We will be fully enclosed by the end of winter, but it will happen by the beginning And then we're really just working on the interior, and that's really when it'll really start to move forward.
The build-out, you have said, and I think Bucks officials have said, will take place over years. Not everything is going to be done when the arena opens.
Yeah, we have, I believe we have a 3-phase plan for the entire development project. First phase is arena, practice facility, parking garage, and part of the live block. Second phase will be where we put what we put on the Bradley Center land. And then I think phase 3 will be those other 2 parts of land that right now we have as staging and parking for the development. You know, again, if anyone here is interested in some pieces of land, we are more than open to looking at that. But you know, these are phases that I think are flexible. We're open to changing timelines and changing what gets put where and when, depending on interest and market conditions.
One of the things that was mentioned initially was, and I think Peter Fagan, the president of your team, may have said this, that there was even the possibility of perhaps luring a corporate headquarters of some kind to that area. Is that something that's still on the table? Is that still possible?
I think so. I think for us, when people really start to see all that's happening, again, west of the river in that entire area, to me, it makes total sense for a corporate headquarters to want to be built there. You've got proximity to a place where a lot of young people are going to want to work. It's going to be accessible when the streetcar gets over there, you know, through public transportation. It's, you know, right off the highway, so again, very accessible for anyone driving in. It's also, I think, in the new most budding part of Milwaukee, which we're again calling the new living room of Milwaukee. It's a place where people are going to be able to live, work, and play. There's a ton of housing around, and affordable and, you know, cheap affordable housing for younger people. You've got more office space that is in Schlitz over in Pabst. You've got what's going on possibly with the convention center expansion, and also what's already going on Grand Avenue and Wisconsin Avenue, plus Marquette's right around there. So I think this is a place that makes total sense for a corporate headquarters to want to build, whether that's one, you know, kind of currently in Wisconsin looking to relocate, or one that's outside of Wisconsin looking to build and come here. I can't think of a better place in Milwaukee than I'm a little biased, but can't really think of a better place for a corporate headquarters to get started. We're having active conversations, and we're, you know, as we like to say, we're kind of open for business in that district, in that area, for anyone that wants to be a part of it.
When you look back on it, because I know the Bucks, when they came to town, the new ownership group came to town, they looked at a number of sites. They talked about what would work best for the future of this team. As you look at it today, was this ultimately the best site?
I think without a doubt. I think it's already been public what the other sites were, where the current County Historical Museum building
right
is.
On the river.
Right on the river.
Yeah.
We had looked at an area at Summerfest grounds. And, you know, I think when you look at it, you know, from a pure arena aesthetic standpoint, you know, maybe that historical museum grounds might look the best. It's coming right up on the river. It's already kind of in an area where there are a few arenas already there, the Journal-Sentinel site. But, you know, when my dad and Wes were buying the team, you know, my dad had been looking to buy a team for about 10 years before he bought the Bucks. He had looked at the Sixers, he looked at the Hawks, he looked at a few teams, and, you know, was never really quite able to pull the trigger on something. And I think when they came here, what they saw wasn't just a chance to, you know, own a basketball team, which has always been a lifelong dream and has been really cool, but they saw a chance to really kind of rethink what a major part of a downtown could be. They saw a chance to actually develop 30 acres of a downtown in a major city, which I don't know if a lot of you know, but you don't actually get to do that in a lot of cities, where you just kind of get, you know, a blank slate for 30 acres of land in downtown.
It was simply a dead zone.
Yeah, I mean, for 30 years, just nothing had been there. And I think to be able to look at that and see, okay, look, if we can take 30 acres and really put something here and master plan it and design it, this is something that could be really special. And so I think even when you looked at the other sites, it didn't have that same impact and that same vision that you would have been able to have. And so I think what we're doing right there is exactly what we wanted to do and exactly what we promised, which is create real economic development and not just create an arena on an island, which is kind of what the Bradley Center is right now.
I want to talk about the workforce component of this, and some people in this room may be familiar with this, some people may not, and I think it's good to spend a few minutes on it because it's an interesting story. So as part of the deal, there's some public money involved in the building of the new arena. Part of the deal says that the Bucks must hire 40% of the people working on this project from essentially the city of Milwaukee. A number of these people are unemployed or underemployed. It's part of a requirement, a residence program requirement. You did some creative and unconventional things to make sure you met those goals. Let's begin by talking about how you found the workers needed for this project. And I should say, this is something you've been intimately involved with.
Yeah, this has probably been one of my biggest projects that I've been leading, which is ensuring that we hit our hiring goals on our, not only RPP, Residential Preference Program, which is that 40% of unemployed or underemployed people in Milwaukee, but also making sure that we're hiring small and disadvantaged businesses and making sure that that's what we're using as our contracts. What we did was we kind of tried to look at this and say, okay, how can we attack this problem? There was a feeling and I think a belief around the city, which was 40% is a big number. And how do you actually hit something like that? And when I came here, I looked at it and I said, okay, I mean, you've got high unemployment in the minority communities. It shouldn't be that hard to hit 40% if you've got people who need to work. So something wasn't quite jiving with kind of those two storylines. And what we found was that a lot of people just might not have the skills needed to get on the construction site. I mean, doing construction, especially for an arena, is not just something where you can come off the street and do. You have to be trained and you have to have skills. You know, I mean, I've got a graduate degree, and if I wanted to go work on the arena site, I would not be able to do that. Like, you have to be trained and skilled to be able to do this. So we had contracted with a company called SkillSmart, which allows you to kind of have a two-way conversation with people, with the potential employer. So it connects them with us by allowing them to create a profile and tells them exactly what jobs are available and what skills you need to have to be able to get on the job site. And if you don't have those skills, where to go to actually get trained. And then what we did with that was we actually did these jobs town halls. We felt like it was better to go into the communities to talk to people rather than asking them to come to us and do these big job fairs. So we did about 6 or 7 of these in some of the hardest hit districts with some of the highest unemployment rates. We'd have about 100 at each. We would RPP certify people on site or allow them to at least make appointments on site, which is the first time that had ever been done. And I think we RPP certified, you know, close to 30 to 50 people throughout all these town halls, which was incredible. And we served it also as a networking session. You know, people would come between 6 and 8 o'clock. We made sure we had our contractors and our subcontractors there. And, you know, big thanks to all the aldermen who helped us with all this. But, you know, we tried to use it as a networking session, and this was the best way for us to actually be able to find out, okay, who's really committed? Who's got some of the soft skills? You know, if there's one thing I learned in business school, it's that networking is probably one of the biggest things. And so just being able to do that and being able to have our contractors and subs have face-to-face meetings with some of the people who wanted to work and see a lot of the people who were interested and were committed to working and getting on the project was something that was really great and special. And just on top of that, you know, we put up another $175,000 of our own money for an actual jobs training program as well. So, you know, we kind of put our money where our mouth was. Really the first development company to put up any sort of private personal money for workforce development.
And the workers are being trained to do what specifically? Give us some examples of the kind of work that they're doing.
So electrical engineering, you know, creating plumbing, you know, creating elevator shafts, putting up drywall, you know, welding, a number of construction jobs that we needed to make sure that we filled, and we're actually above our goal because of the efforts that we're putting forth.
So you have more than 40% of the workforce.
Yeah, we're above 40% of the workforce, and, you know, again, I think RPP, as a lot of people have said, is the spirit of it is also to make sure that you're hiring from the hardest hit districts, and I think that's a big part of it. And we're at, you know, over 34% minority hiring. We're above, I think we're at about 6 or 7% for women. I think when the average is about 3%. So we're really happy with the progress that we've made. There's obviously a lot more that needs to be done. But I think what we've kind of begun in the model that we've created was a great start.
How much of a difference did it make? Your building construction was preceded to some respects by what happened with Northwestern Mutual, which has built one tower and is currently building another one. They had the same sort of 40% RPP requirement. Did that help in terms of finding the people you needed for your project?
Definitely. I mean, they had a complex tower also, and a lot of the skills that were needed to build Northwestern Mutual were needed to build the Bucks Arena. And, also helped that timing worked out. As Northwestern Mutual was kind of finishing up, we were getting started. So we were able to take workers from that. But let's also remember there's $3 billion of projects going around Milwaukee. It's not, we weren't taking everyone from that city from that project. And a lot of what we really wanted to do, especially with what we did with Skills Smart in the town halls, was bring new people into the construction industry and into the trades. We worked with Dan Bukevich and Ken Kramer from the trade associations and made sure that we were working to bring new people into this. So our hope is that even with Skills Smart and a lot of the profiles that we have and a lot of the people that we've talked to, there's going to be a little lag in terms of some of those people getting hired because they need to go through training. And so, our hope is that it's not just something that we're setting up for the Bucks Arena project. We've got another 5-10 years of development projects that we've got on our 30 acres. We need to make sure that people are trained and are able to work. And so, we had to make sure that we were going to be able to create a pipeline of workforce.
What's the biggest challenge you've faced on that front? Because you will hear employers in town talk about a skills gap, about being unable to find the talent they need to grow their businesses. What was the challenge that seemed to be the biggest for you?
I think it is the skills gap. I really do. I think when we did a lot of these town halls, we had about 1,000 people sign up on Skills Smart, and I would say maybe 20% of them actually from sign up had skills that were qualified to work on the construction site. That's a big gap. Now again, part of what we wanted to do was bring new people in, but when you're asking people to, who might be in their mid-20s, early 30s to now train for construction, that takes time, and that's costly. It's not like you're getting paid to be trained. So you've got to make sure that you can train and still put food on the table if you're one of the people who are, supposed to be, kind of bringing in money for your family. And that's a very difficult thing to do. And so I think we've got to figure out a way to make training easier and more affordable. And I think we also have to just market the trades a little better for people who are younger and in high school and kind of say, look, these are great paying jobs. And they are. I think people on our site are making over $20 an hour for working in the construction industry. We have a PLA signed. We're really proud of making sure that we're able to get the best and most qualified people, but I think a lot of that you have to start with marketing to younger people to tell them, like, hey, look, these are great jobs, and you're going to be able to make a good middle class life for you and your family by going into this industry, and I think that's just something we have to kind of push forward a little more.
Something the team also committed to was a higher minimum wage than is required. So I think when the new arena opens and the surrounding projects, the private sector projects open, $12 an hour, but that assume will go up to 15 over time. Why did you do that? Because you probably hear this from some people who do business in that area. What are you doing? You're going to make us raise our minimum wage. That's going to have an impact on our business.
Which I would say good. No, I think for what we were looking at was, we're in the service industry, and we have to make sure that when people come to our games, that they're treated well. And, for us, it was part selfish to make sure that we were running a good business. And it was also part, hey, this is something that, you should do. I think we kind of follow the Henry Ford model, which is pay the people who are working for you well enough so that they can actually utilize your product. So yes, are we trying to also create more fans and more business for us? Sure. But I think also what we're doing is we're making sure that we're getting the highest quality of people. We're going to have less turnover for people working in the arena than we have right now. We're going to have better customer service in the arena than we have right now because we're committed to paying people higher wages. I even think we're going to beat a lot of the, kind of the minimums that we have set forth in this jobs agreement that we signed. And that's mostly just because we want to make sure that we have the best qualified people. Lastly, I think we're hoping to kind of set a model. Wages have been lagging growth in this country. And, if we can kind of set a precedent that says not only can you pay good wages, but you can also make money and it's smart for you as a business, we're willing to take that risk and take that step to actually prove that that is a model that works. And hopefully other businesses start to follow it.
So I hear you're really talking about two different things here. One is physically, you're rebuilding this dead zone, as I referred to, in the city. But you're, in another respect, trying to contribute to rebuilding the workforce in the city of Milwaukee. Would that be a fair assessment?
That sounds like a very nice way to put it. I think what we're really trying to do is just do kind of our part as a good corporate citizen. We came here and we made promises. We have public funding, which again puts another level of scrutiny on our project. And we're happy to take on that level of scrutiny because I think what we're doing is something that eventually will be held up and used as a model for how other development should be done, and how hopefully other businesses can start to pay their workers in the service sector. Look, we're not going to solve every problem that's out there, and we're not going to, create, the only good jobs in the city. But I hope that what we're able to do is at least start a conversation and really start by creating a model that can kind of serve as something not only in Wisconsin going forward, but hopefully, for future arena projects or anything around the country.
So is it an overstatement to say this project combined with other surrounding projects is transformational in any way for this community? That's a word you hear a lot. It's a big word. Is that overstating the case?
I don't think so. I mean, I think, again, you got to take a long view of this. And even the short view of it is we are developing 30 acres of a major city's downtown that hadn't had any development before. It's not like we're taking an area and redoing some buildings or anything. We are literally putting buildings on an area that hasn't had anything for 30 years. And then I think you're starting to see people already now starting to develop areas, 5, 6, 7, 10 blocks away from where we are, and that'll lead to development going 10 blocks from where they are. So I do think it is transformational, not only from a development standpoint, but also hopefully for the jobs that we're able to create and helping, breed a new middle class in Milwaukee.
Is what's happening there, does that change the perception of the city and the way it's viewed, not just in this country, but because the NBA is an international game in many respects? Does it change the way we're viewed around the world?
I would think so. I mean, look, when we're, when we're playing in London like we did 3 years ago, and we're playing the Knicks, everyone knows who the New York Knicks are. But when they now see, us beating the Knicks and Giannis is wearing a jersey that says Milwaukee across it, people are going to start to Google, what is Milwaukee?
Do you have an answer to that question?
What is a Greek freak? These are things people are going to Google, and that's things that people are going to see. And I think you're already seeing that starting to happen because you're seeing a lot of travel magazines starting to rate Milwaukee as a place to be. Excuse me. You're starting to see, national newspapers starting to write about Milwaukee as like the best kept secret. So yes, I do think our project is doing that.
Yeah, take a gulp of water there. So let's talk about the city, because that seems like wait, before I get to the city, I do have to ask you one question. We're talking about international. I do want to ask you about naming rights for the arena, because I heard Peter Fagan say, I think it was on CNBC the other day, that in terms of naming rights, we're looking not just here in Milwaukee, we're looking internationally, companies that do business around the world. Is there any progress on the naming rights issue? A lot of curiosity about when that decision might be made.
Yeah, I mean, we're in negotiations with a number of companies for naming rights. I think it's more than just a local play, it's a global play. As we said, Milwaukee and this arena is something that is viewed globally. I mean, attendance for Bucks games is probably 1% of actual viewership. Most of that viewership's coming from China on League Pass. So, for us, naming rights isn't something that's just a local play. It's something for a major international company that's looking to market and be a part of a progressive league that attracts not only to minorities and millennials, but that's also attracting international talent as well.
Is Foxconn still on the list, or can you talk about that?
I'm not going to go into who we're talking to and who we're negotiating with, but as I've said, if anyone is looking to get into it, please call me, and more than happy to discuss it.
Back to the city and the impact on the city and the city's trajectory, as some people would say. I want to get your impressions of this city. You moved here 4 years ago. You've put down roots. You live in an area that's kind of an intersection of Walker's Point and the 3rd Ward, I think. What were your first impressions of this city?
So the first time I'd ever come to Wisconsin was in Hillary's '08 campaign, and it was in February, and it was probably some of the most snow I had ever seen. I went to Oshkosh, and I remember thinking, wow, this is
a great place for
this is where people
a
live.
G-League team.
Yeah, this is where people live. The first time I ever came to Milwaukee was when Senator Cole invited us out, and it was St. Patty's Day weekend, and it was, March, and it was snowing. So I thought, does it ever not snow here? But it was snowing, and people were in shorts and a T-shirt. So my first impression was, wow, these people are either crazy or they drink a ton. I learned it was the former, or the latter, sorry. They drink a ton. But, I think what you also ended up seeing was really a passion that people have for the city and for their sports teams. I think one of the things that we really learned was, if you give Milwaukee 100%, Milwaukee will turn around and give you 200%. And that's something we're seeing right now with the Bucks. You're seeing a ton of excitement for the team, and we haven't even won anything yet, but people are already excited just because of what we're able to do. Milwaukee is not without its challenges, like any city, I think. I think one thing I would love for Milwaukee to be able to do is dream bigger for the city. I see an incredible bones to the city that is really unlike any other, and no reason it shouldn't be able to match any big city. You've got an incredible workforce, you've got incredible universities, we've got an incredible university system right on the waterfront, which, again, a lot of cities don't have. So, I see a lot of really good things that Milwaukee has. I think I'd like to see Milwaukee think of itself as that kind of great city that that a Chicago or Minneapolis thinks of itself as.
I asked you for your impressions because, in part, I think it was about a year ago, and bring back something that I'm sure is probably not that pleasant, but Peter Fagan was speaking in Madison, and he was pretty harsh on the city. He said that it was the most racist, segregated place he had seen. He said it was antiquated, it was in dire need of repair. There are harsh words about the city. My sense is that maybe you're not willing to go there, but you see room for improvement in Milwaukee.
I think any city has room for improvement, and any city is going to have its challenges. I mean, it is, I think, a pretty unmistakable fact that Milwaukee is one of the most, if not the most, segregated city in America. And that's something that we have to work on. That's something that we have to work on to fix. And that's not just on the politicians, it's on everybody in this room and outside this room to strive to try to change. But I think what I'm really seeing in Milwaukee is really a groundswell of change from kind of that next generation of people. I'm part
People
of
your age.
Yep, and younger. I mean, I'm part of a few young professional groups where we're constantly talking about how can we tackle some of the issues that face Milwaukee. And that's not something I see in New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, or DC. You don't see this kind of energy and engagement level from its younger generation. And I think that's something where that gives me great hope and pride for this city, just because you've got people who have traveled the world, who are so interconnected through the world that they're able to really see a lot of great things that other cities are doing and wanting to bring that here to Milwaukee. You're not even seeing really, people talk about a brain drain, but I think what you're really seeing is a brain gain here, where people are coming here, they're experiencing it, and they're wanting to stay. People who are born here might be leaving for college, but are coming back because they see Milwaukee as their home and as a place that they want to be. And to me, I think that's what gives me great sense of pride in making Milwaukee my new home. And so yes, I think every city has its challenges, and I think we can all agree on what they are. But what I'm really seeing is a generation of people who are engaged and actively trying to make Milwaukee a better place, and proud to be a part of that.
You're so bullish. I saw you wrote a column not too long ago saying that Amazon should pick Milwaukee as its second headquarters. Obviously, a lot of cities around the country are putting together their bids, or just put together their bids to get what could be 50,000 good-paying jobs. Why did you think Milwaukee would be a good fit for Amazon? Is that the dream big stuff you're talking about?
That's part of it. I think a number of reasons. One, when you're looking at 50,000 good-paying jobs, you got to look at, okay, what does it take to fill those jobs? And one of that is a great education system. And the University of Wisconsin education system is probably one of the top 30 in the country. I think Marquette is a top university in the country. So you've already got that part down. You need land, and we have plenty of places in Milwaukee where we could build it. We have some plots of land open if Amazon is interested. But I think that's a big part, and I think the other part of it is, again, you kind of look at that growth that Milwaukee's having. Its cost of living is extremely reasonable, and that's not just coming because I'm coming from New York and DC. Milwaukee is very cost affordable, and that's something that a lot of young people are looking for, and a lot of people that who are graduating college aren't taking a job first. They're actually choosing the city they want to be in and then finding a job afterward, which is something that I don't think was happening before. People are now saying, okay, I want to live in Milwaukee or Columbus or Chicago and then going to find the job. And I think having a city that has all of the advantages that Chicago has, but at, I think it's like 60% the cost of living that Chicago is, that seems like a pretty easy choice for me. Plus, it's only a $25 Amtrak ride if you want to go visit Chicago. So that's also a pretty nice benefit. So I think Milwaukee has a ton going for it that makes it an ideal candidate for a headquarters like Amazon.
You mentioned earlier that you were here, I think back in 2008, on a snowy day, campaigning, I guess, with Hillary Clinton, who was running for president at that time. You're active in politics. You worked in the White House. I want to spend just a couple moments on that. You were an aide to Valerie Jarrett. Do I have that right? Mm-hmm. What did you learn from that experience? In the Obama White House, I should say.
Yeah. There are a couple. I think there was two things. One, there's kind of like what I did, day to day, and what I got to learn from that, and then also what you just kind of learn from, I think, working there in general, and more kind of macro from it. Day to day was probably one of the greatest experiences of my life, being able to work for President Obama. When you're a young kid and you're writing memos that the president's going to see the next day, and then you open his presidential daily briefing, and some of the stuff you put in there is pretty special when you're helping create events. I worked on the Jobs Council stuff. When you're creating events that's actually leading to substantive change, that's exciting. I was there when the president became the first ever U.S. president to announce their support for gay marriage. That is an exciting and prideful time. I was also doing work in the White House when the raid to get bin Laden was happening, which is just kind of cool. So there's a lot of fun things that you got to do there. I think more macro, what you really learn is that change and what you want to get done takes time. And I think the president has said this, which is, government and change is not a speedboat, it's more of a tanker. And to move it takes a lot of time and takes a lot of energy and a lot of focus. And I think we have, throughout my time there and when we were there, we started to move it in the right direction. And we started to make really positive change for a lot of people in their communities. And there are going to be speed bumps along the way. But I think in general, what I really learned was, being involved is probably one of the most important things you can do. And when you're in a democracy, I think involvement is probably the most important thing to making sure that it is sustainable and to making sure that it's working the way it should. And so I think being a part of that, being a part of the Obama White House, has kind of really just showed me that no matter what I'm doing, I'm always going to want to be involved, no matter what, in fighting for the issues that I care about. And I think even for people I don't agree with, I would urge them to be involved and to make sure that they are fighting for the issues that they most believe in, just because I think that's the most important thing you can kind of do.
So let me follow up on that. I had an interesting conversation the other day with a young guy. He's in his 20s. He's a UW-Madison grad. His name is Stephen Olacara. So Stephen Olacara is the head of a group called the Millennial Action Project. It's a national group. He's trying to get people, millennials, more involved in politics. And he said to me, what people don't know about millennials is they are deeply concerned about public service. They give more time towards public service than just about any generation. But he said what they also feel about politics is that they don't like it. They don't like the way it's practiced, and it's sort of distasteful to them. How do you get more people your age to feel as you do, that they should be involved in politics rather than just, say, doing good deeds in the community?
If you don't like the way it's going, the best way to change it is to be a part of it. That's, I think, something you learn from, I learned from President Obama, which was he didn't like the way things were going, so he took a chance and got involved. I think that's something you're seeing from a lot of young people, and they can say how much they hate politics or the way it's run, but if you want to change the way politics is run, go run for something. If you want to change the way politics is run, go work for an alderman, go work for a governor, go work on a campaign. If you want to change the way it's going, go work for a national action network, or go work for a cause that means something to you. Anyone can sit on the sideline and complain. That's probably the easiest thing to do. I think the hardest thing to do is actually go and be a part of something that, maybe is really hard, and maybe you only have a 10% chance of winning, but at least maybe then you're helping change the conversation, and you're helping inspire other people to want to be involved. And I don't know. I worked at a White House that was probably one of the more, it was probably one of the more partisan times that we've seen, but that didn't stop us every day from getting up, going to work, and trying to do what we thought was right. And for anyone that's complaining about the state of our politics, I would probably tell them, well, then get involved in our politics and be a part of the change that you believe in.
I'm not asking you to declare your candidacy here, but it sounds to me like at some point you would consider the prospect of running for office as a form of public service because you believe in trying to make the changes that you think would be appropriate for this country, the city, whatever. Someday, maybe.
Who knows? I think right now it's right now what I'm really committed to and what I want to work on is kind of the promises that we've made and what we've been working on, in the Arena project. And I think I'm able to do a lot not only from my seat at the Bucks, but also by being involved and engaged in the Democratic Party here and nationally. If someday down the line I feel like I can I can make more of an impact doing that, it's something I'll look at. But I think generally right now I'm able to make a huge impact with what I'm doing with the Bucks, and I think we're doing a ton for the city. And so I'm pretty happy there. And I know one of our promises was a championship, so hopefully we're on the right. After last night, it looks like we're on the right track for that.
Well, that's a good segue because I've got about 3 questions left. They're all basketball questions. So let me put the basketball questions to you. You mentioned they got off to a good start last night. Giannis Antetokounmpo, man, 37 points, 13 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals. I want to ask you this. How important is he not just to the team, but to the city? It's very rare to see someone. He's probably going to be, if he's not already, a superstar. He will be the image in some respects of Milwaukee. How important is he?
I would kind of claim that he already is a superstar. He started in the All-Star game last year. I think Sports Illustrated and ESPN had him as a top 10 player. Look, Giannis is a game changer. You only come around a franchise-changing talent and player once in a generation. I don't know when the last time Milwaukee had a player like that, and there are teams that look for that, over decades, just trying to find a player like Giannis. I think what's also special about having Giannis is what he is as a person and what he is to the Milwaukee community. His story is just inspiring. From selling, jewelry on the street of Greece to now getting a $100 million contract in the NBA. It's really remarkable what he's been able to do just through hard work and sheer determination and force of will. And he's someone who wants to give it back to Milwaukee. He looks at Milwaukee and Wisconsin as his home. this was the first place he came to when he came to the United States. This is what he knows, and he loves it here. And I think having someone like him, not only on the court but off the court, is it's something I think we would love to take credit for, but we kind of fell into it, and we couldn't be happier and more proud to be able to have done so.
What's the future of Jabari Parker with the Milwaukee Bucks? Was not signed to the max contract deal, but so he'll become a restricted free agent, and he's still recovering from another major injury. How do the Bucks feel about him and how he fits into their future?
Love Jabari. I think a lot of people look at it as if you don't get the extension, something must have been wrong, and that is not true at all. There are plenty of players who don't get the extension. I think there's a lot of understandable reasons for what happened and why we didn't get there, but we love Jabari. Jabari is still a major focus and major part of this team. He's someone who is a dynamic talent and a player who also, when he's healthy, can also be a game changer. The fact that some teams wait, once in a generation, try to wait for one of those guys, let alone we have 2 of them, is something that I think Milwaukee and we can be very proud of. And again, Jabari, what he does on the court is only matched by what he's doing off the court. His initiatives with the Milwaukee public school system and trying to make sure that people are going to school, and what he's doing with attendance is second to none. I think what any athlete or even what people are doing in Milwaukee. So we are very committed to Jabari. We want to make sure that he's a Buck for life. Obviously, this is a business, and we'll see how things play out. But we want to make sure Jabari's here. Right now, I think we're really just focused on making sure that he's healthy, ready to come back and contribute when we're making our playoff run.
Still February? Is that what you're talking about for his return, or?
Yeah, I think you're, kind of looking at a full 12 months. It's a second ACL. I can say this: he looks stronger and faster than he did the first time. He is a real medical marvel. I hope that, God forbid anything happens to me, but if I can come back half the way Jabari comes back with the mindset and the work ethic that he has, it's something I think we can all learn from, just kind of how he's taken these injuries in stride, and it hasn't really fazed him as a person at all.
So how would you describe, this is my final question, we'll take a few from the audience, how would you describe success for the Bucks this year? And both on the court and off the court, how would you define it? What would be success?
I think on the court, we want to make the playoffs. I think we'd love to get home court advantage and make it past the first round. I think that for us is kind of our goals. I know our team has set the goal a little higher. I think they want to make the conference finals. I am all for that. I'm not against that goal. But, I think, again, we're still a young team. Giannis is 22. Think about what I think about what I was doing at 22. I was not trying to lead a team to a championship and be an MVP of the sports league. So I think that's something we still need to remember, that, we are a young team. We have to go through our bumps. We went through one last year. Hopefully we can kind of overcome that one hurdle, but then again, you got to overcome that next one. But I think for us on the court, it's if we can get home court advantage and make it to the second round, I think I would look at that as a successful season. Off the court, it's pretty simple, just making sure we get that arena built with no problems, making sure that we're still staying active in the community and trying to set the right tone as a corporate citizen in Wisconsin.
How are season ticket sales? How are group sales? How are you doing on that front?
We're doing great. I think we're top 10 in the league right now in new sales, and couldn't be prouder of our sales staff and everyone that's working hard to sell tickets. And nothing sells tickets like Giannis. That's probably the biggest thing you can have when you have a generational talent like that. And success will breed success. I think people are really excited about this season, but I think what people are more excited about is now you're actually seeing the arena. It's becoming a real physical thing. There's no more guessing like, oh, is this thing going to happen? It is. So I think people want to make sure they're a part of it, and kind of getting on this ride from the beginning. Which if anyone here doesn't have season tickets, make sure you get them before they're all out.
Let's take a few questions from the audience. If you're in the seating bowl, please press down on the rim, not on the ball, but on the rim, and then everybody will be able to hear your question. If you're in the back up there and you don't have a microphone right in front of you, Ryan will bring one to you, and you can speak into that. No speeches. That's sort of our request for every event, but we'll get to as many questions as possible. So raise your hand, and we'll begin. I'll get to you in a bit. Let me go over here.
Could you describe the minority business owner relationship you have with subcontractors?
Yeah, so we've given out, we had a goal for, I think, 25% SB for contracts awarded on the arena, and we're at 30%. And I think we've pretty much awarded all of our contracts for the arena. And again, we wanted to make sure that we did this right. We didn't want to have any kind of faux minority companies, where maybe they have someone hired and they're kind of just the face of the company, but then everyone else working there is not a minority. We wanted to make sure that we did our due diligence. We hired Carla Cross, who I see in here, to help make sure that monitoring and making sure that we were doing everything appropriately. And again, one of the big things that we made sure that we set out to do, not only on the contracting side, but on the hiring side, was we didn't want to, and excuse my language, BS anything. We weren't going to hire anyone to sweep floors. We weren't going to hire anyone to hold up a sign just so that we could hit our numbers. We wanted people actually doing real work and real jobs, because that's the only way you're going to create careers. Hopefully the arena project is just one step to a real career in the trades, and hopefully any contracts that we awarded, again, is a real step to people being able to grow their business and becoming a major player in these contracts in the future.
Other questions? Right there.
Is it on already? In your final comments in the presentation you just gave, you mentioned you wanted to remain active in the city. So could you elaborate a little bit more on what active in the city means, and what does that mean for our youth in the city? Do you see opportunities for growth with youth with the new entertainment district? And I guess, what does that mean to the Bucks organization?
Yeah, so we, through our foundation, this past year, we gave $1 million to, I believe it was 12 or 15 groups in Milwaukee. And a lot of that had to do with mentoring, and that's something that's big with us, is that making sure that we're able to, kind of use our players to help mentor kids, and make sure that we're also doing our part in giving back to the community financially. I think also what we want to make sure that we're doing is not just with that, but also, we've redone a number of basketball parks and courts around the city. We just did Kern a couple days ago. We've done a big project with JCI where we redid a public schools area for basketball courts, a soccer field, and a running track. So I think when we're talking about being involved in the community, and don't forget about our community ticket program, where we try to make sure that we're bringing people who wouldn't otherwise be able to come to a game, actually be able to experience a Bucks game. And I think that's something that we want to make sure that we're staying dedicated to and we're staying involved in. Obviously, if there are any other opportunities where we feel like we can make a difference, we want to make sure we're doing that. We don't want to look at ourselves as the magic bullet for everything, and we don't want to make it so that we're just sprinkling a little bit of money everywhere so that it looks like we're doing everything, but we're only really like a mile wide and an inch deep. We want to make sure that when we're involved, we're actually affecting something. And so we kind of have specific pillars of our foundation that we're actually trying to affect real change. And even if it's a little bit at a time, if it's 5, 10 students at a time, that's meaningful and that means something. And so we hope to grow the foundation this year. We hope to play, I think, bigger across the state, not just locally. But we will still make sure that Milwaukee's our home, and we want to make sure that we're able to work with our youth and make sure that we're doing everything we can to again set the tone and make sure we're setting the tone as a corporate citizen in Milwaukee.
Incidentally, what's been the response in Oshkosh? You have a developmental league team there, or a G League team, they now call it. What's the response to Oshkosh to having professional basketball in their community?
It's been incredible, and it's not just Oshkosh; it's the entire Fox Valley, which has really taken to the herd. And we're doing kind of a mini arena project over there with our partners out there. They're building a new arena for the herd, and they have this massive development plan for Main Street of downtown Oshkosh. So, the arena ripple effect isn't just happening in Milwaukee. It looks like we're seeing it ripple all the way out to the Fox Valley.
Good to see you again. Go ahead.
What do I do with this?
Just press down on that rim. Just keep your finger down on the rim. There you go.
I can hear you and repeat it.
Yeah, we can repeat it. Don't worry.
No worries.
There you go.
There we go.
This works better. Do you have any future plans as to how you might integrate historic Turner Hall and 3rd Street, Usingers, Maters, all of this old town atmosphere into your future plans?
Yeah, so we've actually been working with the 3rd Street Association the entire time that we've been developing our live block efforts. The one thing we've really come to believe is that we are trying to create a rising tide that's going to lift all boats. So we want to make sure that we're integrated into the 3rd Street community because they already have a very impressive community. We are working with, I've met numerous times with Turner Hall, and we're working also with Gary Witt on how can we help cross-programming and how can we make sure that we're integrating into the fabric that already is 3rd Street. I think the other thing that we're looking to do is not recreate 3rd Street. 3rd Street already has this incredible energy to it. And, I've been out on 3rd Street many a time, and it's a great time. And I don't think we need another 3rd Street. When you want that atmosphere, you go there. I think what we're hoping to bring to that area and to Westtown is a way to really connect Water Street, 3rd Street, the arena, Pabst, Schlitz, and Wisconsin Avenue, and kind of really create a new entertainment zone and a real destination area for people who are visiting Wisconsin for the first time and for people who live here. And again, that's why we've tried to talk about this living room of Milwaukee. So we're just hoping to really be integrating into the fabric that is 3rd Street while also creating our own identity where, if people want something a little different than 3rd Street, they can come here. But, I think the big thing that we're doing with that entire connectedness is that beer garden that we have planned, which we're taking an old alley and actually turning it into a beer garden that is going to connect from 3rd Street all the way to our plaza. So it's a way that you don't have to walk all the way around 3rd Street just to get to us. You can actually just walk right through. And that's our way of trying to really connect these two streets. One of the funny things that I've realized is when you're on 3rd Street and you want to go to Water Street, a lot of people don't want to walk there because they think it's too far when you're just crossing a bridge and going a couple blocks. So I think what we're trying to really help do is create an area where you can just park, leave your car, and you're good to go. And that's really our goal. And being from New York, more walking for me is always, and less driving I'm always happier.
Mm-hmm. Other questions? Let me go back there, and then we'll go over here. Okay.
Can you tell us about your relationship with Frederick and the medical college, and what are the services and the patient population you'll be serving at that clinic?
Yeah, so we have a partnership with Frederick and the Medical College of Wisconsin, where they are the naming rights partner to our practice facility, and they also leased a medical office building that is right next to it. So if you're coming down McKinley, that's the new kind of that is the gateway to the city when you're coming off there. And this partnership is actually pretty unique, and you've seen it kind of around other sports teams where they've partnered with a medical provider. This is it's a public clinic, so anyone can go in there and utilize the services of Frederick and the Medical College of Wisconsin. It's another way for us to try to really integrate the community and create a downtown space for people to utilize medical services. I had some issues with my shoulder and then had to drive all the way out to them to get it looked at when in a couple months I could have just waited and gone to their downtown location. So it's going to be great for our players as well, just in terms of research, being able to consult with doctors and utilize some of what they're using for research, but also just being able to treat our players there as well. But it is a public facility, and it's another way that we're hoping to help treat and be a part of downtown Milwaukee and help service it.
Let me go over here. Yes, you had a question.
Yeah, hi, Alex. I've heard you mention a couple times today, talking about the blank slate and really revitalizing, injecting this new energy into the city. Even mentioning, that the Bucks are bringing a ton to the city. I would say that a lot of Milwaukeeans would argue that we were pretty awesome and loved our city, even before you came a few years ago. So I would love to hear how you're partnering with existing organizations, companies, colleges who are already doing really great things in the city, and how you're partnering with them to continue those things or even elevate the level of what they're able to do.
Sure. So we're partnering with a ton of community organizations who are already, who, as you said, are doing incredible work. We've got our Bucks Bar Network, so we're trying to partner with, local bars in the city that, try to get more Bucks games played on TV. That was one of the things I realized when I came here was I had to ask the bartender to put on the Bucks game rather than it being on. And that's something that we're trying to change. I think with Marquette and UWM, we're partner. Marquette's a big partner of ours. They're going to be a tenant in our new arena, which should help for recruiting, should create a much better fan experience for people going to the game. And with UWM, doing a partnership with, we've been partners with them for a really long time, and hopefully we can do. I think we're in talks with them to also help them out with recruiting. And just trying to, again, make sure that we're helping direct people to education. I think also then what we're just doing on workforce development. We've partnered with the city on workforce development with WRTP, with Employ Milwaukee. They were involved greatly in all the town halls that we did, with the unions that we're partnering with. I don't think that what we're saying are necessarily different. I don't think that I have no doubt, and I know Milwaukee was a very good and great city before we got here. I don't think that means that we haven't come in and done things to help improve and add to it. So I apologize if it at all made it seem like I was saying Milwaukee was this, dumpy city before we got here. Now Milwaukee's the greatest city in the world because we're here. That is not at all what I was trying to say. What I was more just trying to say was, I think since we've got here, we've done a lot to add to the city and really help, I think, kind of, just revitalize an area that, again, for 30 years had nothing on it, and the Bradley Center was on an island. And I think when people talk about, how do arenas spur economic development, I think what you're seeing now is teams and organizations don't want to just build an arena. They want to build an arena and put stuff around it. And that's how you make it successful. That's how you make it a vital part of any city. And that's what we're looking to do. And I think the other big thing that we're going to continue to do is, we not only have money to give, but I think our most precious resource is our players' time, our executives' time, and all of the people that we have working with us. We have a volunteer network where we require all of our employees to do community service through our volunteers program. So we will continue to partner with any community service ever that we can to make sure that the people working for the Bucks are going out into the community and being parts of Milwaukee. And then again, with our players, I think the best thing we can do with them is use their time efficiently and partnering with the best organizations in Milwaukee to make sure that our players are shedding light on issues that are important. And I think that's that's what we're hoping to do, not only with our current players but our former players as well.
I'm going to have to wrap things up there. Before we go, a couple of things. We do want to mention that next week on Tuesday, we'll be launching the new Lubar Center for Public Policy Research and Civic Education here at Marquette University. This is something that we've been working on for 10 years, a public policy initiative here, and it is now something larger and more permanent, thanks to the generosity of Shell and Mary Ann Lubar. We'll be announcing that and our latest initiative on Tuesday, the Milwaukee Area Project, which will offer regular polling of the 5-county Milwaukee area, along with pretty sophisticated data analysis that'll give us a better idea of everything from what we think to how we live and where we're headed. We think it's a very appropriate initiative for a law school located in the heart of Milwaukee to be undertaking. So we'll be announcing that on Tuesday. You can watch some of that we live stream a lot of our events. We also record them. You can go back and look at them later on our website, law.marquette.edu. One other thing, we still have a few seats available for our next On the Issues event. We're going to be talking about entrepreneurism in Milwaukee. That's a big part of the future of this city. We'll have 3 different local entrepreneurs with us to talk about their experiences and what we can do better to increase the number of new businesses in Milwaukee. So check the website. I think that's November 2nd. Again, still a few seats left for that one. Having said that, again, it's great to see everybody. Thanks so much for your interest and your attention. And thanks to Alex Lasry and the Bucks.